Remember the buying frenzy in the home market shortly after the COVID shutdown? Inventory was tight, people routinely paid way over asking price, and buyers couldn't afford to be picky. Well, that was then, this is now. Interest rates are at their highest point in 23 years, and the dollar overall is being squeezed a little tighter. So does that mean you should wait for interest rates to come back down to buy? And on the flip side, how much harder will it be to sell? Amy Bernstein with Bernstein Realty started her business 40 years ago in a tough economy in Texas, so she knows while things are a little tougher right now, it's also the nature of the housing market. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. I have to just say, I love that dress.
Oh, thank you. You can borrow. All right. All right. You started your company, as we mentioned several times, in the height of the oil crash in Texas. People were walking away from their homes. There were tons of foreclosures. But there's still ways people have to live somewhere to mitigate some things.
Yes. And you know, when I started, interest rates were 16%.
Oh, wow. So we're still kind of celebrating, for people who know, the single digits.
This is single digits and still very affordable. It's just quite different than it was. So people are struggling a little bit with the sticker shock of watching those rates rise for sure.
But what they need to look at is, speaking of sticker shock, during the COVID frenzy, there are people, I was shocked when friends of mine are going, okay, we're going 50,000 above, we're going 100,000 above.
Exactly.
And so that's something that you're stuck with. You're stuck with paying that. But you always say, you say marry the house, not the interest rate?
Yes, marry the house, not the mortgage.
Or not the mortgage, yeah. Because
exactly.
The mortgage, we can mitigate the mortgage.
Exactly. So what's really interesting is when interest rates were where they were, I don't even want to say what they were because it's like,
it was
but where they were, there were bidding frenzies and you couldn't find a house that you could buy because houses would sell that afternoon, the day they came on the market. And so today, with fewer buyers sitting on the sidelines and just cautiously watching the market, hoping for the rates to go down, then there are more opportunities to negotiate a price and make a better value on the actual real estate itself.
Also, a lot of houses were like, okay, as is, no inspections, close quickly. Now the person buying can say, well, wait a minute, we want to take our time to make sure this is a sound house.
Exactly. So when the pendulum swings, and I've been in the business long enough where I've seen this swing several times.
And really, as you said during the COVID, that you said a correction is coming. This is part of the correction.
This is a correction more than anything. And it's a stabilization of the frenzy that we were in. And so today you can negotiate on a house. You can do your normal inspections and take your time and make a good decision. And so it's a completely different market for the good in many ways.
Yeah, all right. I do know people who say, I missed it. I was going to put our house on the market. Now I'm going to wait for those interest rates to come way back down.
So there is a possibility they will come down. They went up again this week, but there is a possibility they will come down. And if they do come down, then lenders today are being a little more aggressive, many of them, by saying, if they come down in a year, come back to us when we did your mortgage at this rate and we'll give you some sort of concession, as far as fees when you do your refinance.
And there's something called you know this, I don't know this stuff, right? Buying down some points?
I'm so glad you brought that up. So today, as your average note rate is about 7.25, 7.5, you or the seller on your behalf can pay points. And each point is 1% of the loan amount to buy the rate down. So you don't actually have to have a 7.25, 7.5. You pay a little more upfront at closing. Normally that little more upfront is tax deductible because it's prepaid interest, but you borrow money at a less rate than the note rate. So you may still be able to get a mortgage today in the 6s.
Yeah, now here's the other issue. If you see the house that you really want, you're like, oh, maybe we should wait. There is the thought, as opposed to it going down, of it also going up even more.
That's exactly right. So I know people that are on the sidelines waiting for these rates to settle down, and they've watched 2 increases while they're waiting for them to settle down. So I would say if you see something and you're in the market and you find the right house and you're able to negotiate the right price and the right terms for yourself, go for it. And then when rates go down, if they go down, then you can take your time, shop your mortgage, and refinance.
Yeah, okay. Again, inventory is tight, so a lot of people are choosing to not move but improve.
Yes.
And that's not a bad
thing
either.
I like that. Don't move but improve.
Right?
I like that.
Yeah, but the good thing about that, if you do improve your home, at some point when you want to put it on the market in a few years, make sound improvements that can get you more money later.
Absolutely. So today, a lot of people are saying, I don't want to let go of that 2.5%, 3.5% interest rate, so I'm just going to remodel and stay. and I'm going to improve, like you're saying. And so if they do, then always make certain that you speak to somebody, preferably your local real estate provider, that will tell you what are your good improvements.
Yeah.
Normally kitchen, bathrooms, closet space, entertaining areas.
Yeah.
Those are all big areas
And
of
simple
improvement.
stuff like just upkeep. If you have like, things that are holes in walls or broken things, make sure that it looks like it's not lived in.
You know what? And sometimes a simple, nice, good quality paint job
Yeah.
and changing of the surfaces
Yeah.
of the countertop surfaces and your backsplash, and sometimes just your hardware
Yeah.
can do a really great improvement, and it looks, like a new house.
And we know that your child thought lime green walls were really cool and has stickers all over their.
Yes.
but get rid of that stuff. Clean
Take
that
down your
stuff up.
stickers.
Yeah. Okay. There are some people who have to move. They got to buy a house, and they might not either be able to sell theirs at the price they would like, or want to wait again for things to get better so they can charge more for the house. In that sense, your house can become income producing property. Consider leasing it. Some people should consider leasing their homes.
That's so interesting that you bring that up, because today, with people that don't want to let go of these lower interest rates, because
by the way, if you sell your house right now, what are you walking into with a higher interest rate, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But if you decide you don't and you want to keep your house and you want to keep that interest rate, then you can convert it into investment property, into rental property. And rental prices are really strong right now, because as fewer people are jumping into the market and they're waiting, there are more renters out there. So holding on to that interest rate and converting it into a rental property and putting a renter in there is a lot of times what a lot of people are doing today.
Yeah, and speaking of rental property, it's crazy to me some of the prices. We have a lot of high rises here in Houston. I know just 20 years ago there were like a few of them that you could note. A lot of luxury high rises, I should say. And I moved here from Manhattan, and the luxury here is like really nice compared to, because it's newer, right? But the prices people are paying on a lot of rentals really match or even exceed what a mortgage would be.
It's true. It really is true. The rental prices are very, very strong. And there's a lot to be said for no maintenance, no upkeep, just call down to a management company and call in your repair. So there are a lot of people that want to stay very mobile and very free and easy and just want to...
Where you can walk downstairs and say, hey, the toilet handle's jiggly, thank you.
Yes, or the light bulbs are out, please help us.
Yeah.
So, and the amenities in many of these apartment communities we call them apartment homes because they're like homes.
Yeah.
They're not, they have all the amenities of home.
Yeah.
And
we have movie theaters in some of these buildings, simulated golf courses, all that stuff.
Workout facilities, and they have social activities. And a lot of times when you're new in Houston, it's a great way just to get to know your neighbors, because they are communities more
and then
than
get to know
anything.
the city.
Yes.
Okay, take us through, this is the comparison. When you buy a place, and I've lived in a building where I bought before, and then all of a sudden there's, that's what you're paying your mortgage, then there's your common area maintenance fee, then there's this. So be prepared for that versus when you lease something, there's your flat rate pretty much, and that's it.
Yeah, so when you own a condominium high-rise, there are maintenance fees, and normally those are general maintenance fees that take care of your common elements. And a lot of these luxury high-rises, they take care of a lot of times if there's valet parking, but all the amenities, the pool, the workout, all of that, and the security, the on-site that's there. So there is a benefit to paying those fees, but that is additional on top of your mortgage and your property taxes, so you do have to remember that. And then when you lease, normally one fee, and then sometimes there's some ancillary fees for trash pickup or extermination or cable, and obviously your electric and your water, but normally you don't pay the maintenance fees that are associated when you own.
All right, I'm going to end with, we've been talking about the interest rate, and I hear people go, oh, the interest rate there. And I go, do you know what an interest rate really is? And they're like, we didn't learn that in school. So do your homework and know what that higher interest rate really means, because in your monthly payments and between what you might put out as a down payment, it might not be as much as you think. However, interest rate is important because it really does add to the bottom line of what you're really paying for.
It does, and shop your interest rate. I mean, you could call 3 different lenders and get 3 different interest rate prices, not only the interest rate, but the fees associated with the interest rate to close the home. So those are all negotiable with the lenders, and know what you're buying in advance sit down with your real estate broker and your lender and just compare apples to apples or apples to oranges and make sure that you're getting the best value for yourself. Everything is negotiable.
Next up, amortization on a loan. No, our next lesson, all the stuff I have no idea. So yeah, definitely check with a professional and make sure you know what you're really getting into. Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, for more information on Amy Bernstein, Bernstein Realty, or a recap of the information discussed today, log on to greatdayhouston.com.